Okay, now I hit go live on YouTube. And we are live. Okay.
Yeah,
We did it.
I'm taking your word for it.
I'm taking my own word for it because I still don't know if this is right. We
Well, I mean, it's
are.
recording something, right? So at the very least, there'll be an on-demand video for people to watch.
Yep. I have a chat open, but no one ever comes in the chat because, that's the way it goes when you're beginning. But I think we'll get people. I think the reason I made this kind of channel in general is I want to connect with people that have similar like levels of passion for things that and it doesn't have to be the same things that I'm passionate about. I just like talking to passionate people.
Yes, that's the entire. I don't know if you've listened to my podcast at all, but
I did. It was awesome.
Yeah. The guest segment has nothing to do with fitness. Yeah. It's the mental health wellness of just having and pursuing passion. Mm-hmm. I actually teach sidebar. The way I coach my clients in personal training is the same algorithms and habit building that is used for progress and mental health and overall wellness. And anytime I can have someone else with a different perspective, having a process that gets them excited, having a work ethic that gets them to the final result, that isn't me saying, hey, you should work out, is a way to then like get that same excitement going. So that's what the guest segment is on the podcast. Before and after is me saying you should work out and be happy. And in between is just two people having conversation about being inspired.
Yeah, that's awesome. That really is like, it's so much of it.
It's so easy to do that. Like I've never once written down questions. I've never like it's just I know right away. Like I've yet to interview someone I've never met in person, so that'll be weird. Yeah. But good luck.
Well, no, you are right now. I don't view interviews, and I think you feel similarly. Interviews aren't a monologue, for either person. It's a dialogue. So, like you said, we don't have questions. We just talk. Yeah.
Like I normally warm up for like 10 minutes and then I'm like, okay, this is where we're cut it out. This is the start of the episode now.
That's even better than me. I don't do a warm up. I should. My warm up today was like, I got up and I watched. Have you watched much Kurtzgeist? It's a YouTube channel.
Since I don't know the word you're pronouncing, I'm gonna guess no.
Yeah. Have you heard of the story? It's called The Egg by Andy Weir.
Nope.
Okay, it talks about essentially like it's a modern take on reincarnation. It's fascinating. But
nice.
Yeah, and Andy Weir did The Martian and But I woke up and I watched that video and it sent me into tears, so I started crying first thing this morning.
Good.
It was good. It was a good way to wake up. And then I spent the rest of the day, I was like, I just went and like I looked out my front window. I made my tea. I had a tiny breakfast. So so that's my warm up. Was that right there?
But also you're at 10 a.m. and I'm at noon. So I had 2 extra hours of prep.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're time traveling right now.
That is a good way to think about it. That's a superpower right there. Is time travel.
Right. That was on one of my episodes, I talked to a buddy of mine who lives in Poland, and and that was I forget which way it went. One of us was breakfast, one of us was dinner.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
At least we're both like somewhat in the same meal.
Yeah, exactly. We're still having brunch together. That's.
Oh, my coworker's on. She's the first one to talk.
Yay!
Oh,
hi, coworker.
Gosh. I interviewed her last week. Hi, Whitney.
Oh, okay. I listened to that.
She said, hey, talking passionately shouldn't be an excuse for angry, aggressive talking, aka Kavanaugh. So she's going to get into politics right in the beginning.
You know what? I agree. Talking passionately is the idea that you are passionate about what you are doing or dealing with, not what you're arguing about. It is not having passion to argue is different than having passion for what you're doing or interested in.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And we just swerved away from the fact that it was politics. Look at that.
Yeah, no, but it's, I mean, I do like that you went right to kind of the core of the emotional state of it, right? Whitney smiled back. I've been thinking a lot about like anger, and I have troubles with my relationship with anger. And I realize now that passion is like a cousin to anger. Like passion and anger go very close together.
Just like excitement and anxiety are very, very, very close.
Exactly.
It's the same like the same things are happening in your brain. It's how you are interpreting that sensation.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's great. And I think you're right. I think we interpret it differently in our brains, but it feels similar in our body.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's one thing I'm learning is like separating my thoughts from my feeling. They are connected. They're totally connected.
Yep.
But I've focused the past like 20 years of my life has been all up here. Like I've lived all in my head, and I've pushed away my body.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah, it is, right?
I mean, it would also be exhausting to only live as like an animal and physically. So.
That's a fair point. Wow, I've never thought of that before. Yeah, because I mean, animals, all they do is just try to look for food because they don't get that mental. They never get that mental side of it. Like
they don't get to question why they're here and if it matters.
Wow, that is interesting.
For all we know, maybe they do. I don't know.
Fair point. Until we have a consciousness test, we can't really decide.
I watching. This is gonna get sad real quick. Watching pets die is what taught me that there's more, not just in human brains, but there's a difference between our meat suits and our existence.
How so?
Like and to me it hit hard more. I noticed it more because it was a pet. Like if it was a human, like there's already like the belief or thought process of whether or not there's a spirit or whether or not there's something other than like their body that exists. But when I didn't notice it as much when my dog died. When my cat died, I noticed it.
Wow.
Because actually, that's not so. I did notice when my dog died. It climbed into bed and died with us.
What?
It didn't climb into bed. It was in bed.
Yeah. Still.
But it was.
To be there for that is incredible.
It is, but we were asleep.
Wow.
And we woke up because we felt something end.
No way.
Yeah, we both woke up because there was no breathing, there was no heartbeat.
Wow.
And we just both of us immediately like woke up in shock.
Oh my god.
And when you're used to having that like as part of your sleep cycle, like we have pugs. So like they're anti-anxiety medication and they're breathing and they sleep most of the day and they sleep on us, and it's kind of like a weighted blanket. That even though the animal was still there, all of that sensation that we got from it went away.
Wow.
And then with the cat, when it died, he was always, I mean, he was a cat, so he's a slinky, right? You pick him up in the middle, he kind of like bends.
True. Yeah.
And he's the reason I believe that you don't buy cats find you.
Oh, interesting.
In that, or choose you, in that we found him because he popped out of the bushes one day.
Yeah.
And he was like a 9-week-old kitten.
Oh my gosh.
But he was perfectly docile and really nice and just adorable and sweet. And we were like, we can't take you home. We have 2 dogs. And he definitely, like, we left and came back. We're like, if he pops out again, we're like, we have to take him. And he popped out, and he walked up to us and jumped up onto our shoulder without ever once digging his claws in. And was just like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And it took 2 days of him realizing the dogs weren't a threat to his food for him to be okay with them.
Yeah.
And that was the only aggression.
That's quick.
Yeah. The only aggression he ever showed at all was the first hour or so that we brought him home, and he realized there was another creature in the home.
Oh my gosh.
And he jumped up on like a table where the pugs could get him, and started like raising his cackles and like hissing. But he was a kitten, so it was like,
yeah, like the weakest hiss you've ever heard.
Yep. And then like 2 days after, and we had a 2-room apartment at the time, and when we would leave, we'd put the cat in the spare room just to give him like a sanctuary away from the dogs.
Yeah.
And we came home on the second day, and the dogs were sitting in front of the bedroom door because they knew the cat was there, and they just wanted to say hi. They just loved it so much. It was part of the family.
Wow,
and
interesting.
And we opened the door, and they tackled the cat with a hug. And there was nothing the cat could do.
A pug hug.
So, yeah. And from that day on, they were best friends. They just they would sleep together. He would choose when he wanted to hang out or when he didn't. So he never once was aggressive to us. He never scratched. He never bit. He never attacked the dogs. It was always out of fun or play. He never used his claws unless he was like sprinting around the carpet. Wow. And we never taught him any of this. This was just his spirit. Yeah. And when he went, the warmth and the slinkiness and the character that I felt was gone. And it was a stiff board of wood that was there instead. And that was, so again, I don't know if it's true or not, but like,
see, and that's interesting. This is fascinating to me because, it looks like from your perspective, it's very focused on the physiological aspect of it. Like the dog, when it died, like stopped breathing, stopped having a heartbeat, so the warmth left. With the cat, when it died, it's like supple. That's the word used. Suppleness of like body, like went and it became stiff. So those are like very physical things. Because both of my pet deaths have been not like that. Like very well. No, that's not true. There was one other, but like, yeah, they were. The physical aspect was so horrible for me that I couldn't. I still struggle to think about it today. Like, yeah. So it's fascinating because I've always just thought like, I've thought about like their mind and does like somehow, or their like spirit or whatever, does that somehow carry on? Like the physical thing. Well, that was my takeaway
though. That was because it wasn't so much. I'm fortunate in that the path from them being living to not being living anymore was in some ways limited in their suffering. So like it was even like when the dog, even though it was like instantaneous, by the time we woke up, it was already a corpse. So we didn't have to deal with the like literally watching like the bowels excrete and things explode and all that. It was just when we saw it one time, it was alive. When we saw it the other time, it was a corpse. And that was where I felt the metaphysical difference. Was where,
Now that is fascinating. A couple things.
Sorry, I totally went on a giant tangent.
This is meant to do that. Like that, when you're passionate, you're living in your heart. You know, like your mind 100%. Your mind is helping you say the words, but you're living in your heart. So like, this is all just about like committing to that.
I love that. Well, I think the point was we were talking about passionate versus anger and
couple things before we move on. One, Whitney says she's sorry about your cat.
Oh, thank you. I love it. It was a familiar. It guarded us.
Wow, I love that.
We as soon as it passing was one of the catalysts for us being like, oh, we're done here. We need to move.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Do you play D&D just randomly?
100%.
Yeah, I was gonna say the familiar.
I'm not a D&D creator in terms of like how I interact with the other wonderful people on the internet.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I love storytelling. I love improv.
Those are creations right there. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
You create.
And we actually in the gym that I had, we did D&D themed classes.
Oh, I would love that so much.
We had
I would be so into that.
Yeah, we had a giant foam D20, and we would create one shots. Actually, we had campaigns that were stored where you had your own character, but your character was you in our world.
Yeah. Did you have a stat sheet for yourself?
your stats were what you could do physically. There was no numbers.
Yeah, I love that.
Actually, it never fully materialized. The way it was supposed to work was we had once a week we had the D&D class, and then twice a week we would have group general strength and fitness classes. And the idea was you would level up your character by doing the regular classes, and then go to the D&D class and be able to do more, better, faster.
Oh my gosh. Well, and that's beautiful. That's beautiful because, like, one, as somebody who has both played, when I was in elementary school, super nerdy. Like, that was like Magic the Gathering, video games, like reading. So I was like super nerdy. And then as I got older, I became more like into sports, played a lot of hockey, like lacrosse, basketball, soccer, you know, all of it. And then now it's like looking back, you know, and eventually combining kind of the two, but thinking that, like, the amount of friends that I had that were more nerdy or geeky that did physical things was so low simply because their bodies, for whatever reason, like, just weren't built the same way as the other sporty kids, you know?
Right. Because their activities didn't allow them to practice using their bodies in the same way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So there was a divide between the idea of what using your body was and having fun was.
Yeah. So having a marriage of those two things for that population is beautiful. I love
that
so much.
That was the 100% the idea.
Oh,
we didn't we would travel. We did it twice. We planned to do it once a quarter, but then the world exploded. We actually, instead of going to like gym expos to talk to other trainers, we would go to comic book conventions. And
oh, really? See, yeah, that's brilliant.
And we would hold panels on like how to incorporate this into what you already enjoy, which is my whole ethos is how do we find what builds good habits and point it to things you already do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sorry, this is not an advertisement for me. We're just talking.
I love it. This is my favorite because I just am thinking, like, I mean, this is what your passion. The thing is you've made your passion what you do. Like, that happens to coincide with like how you make your living, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal. Like, that's the goal for everybody, you know?
It is. We had our own brick and mortar location that I don't think it's fair to call it a gym. Like, the back room had comics to read if you were hanging out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Board games, that would be amazing.
Yep.
You know? Oh, man.
No one ever used them because we never got to that point in the acceptance. Sure. It was because people still psychologically look at a gym as a gym.
Yeah.
We kind of viewed it more as a community center. Yeah. If that makes sense.
That does.
It's just, instead of like a ping pong table and a pool table, we had themed classes for fitness.
Brilliant. That's beautiful. Yeah, I actually have always thought, because I'm a recreation therapist, so
oh, nice.
I do, instead of like doing talk therapy, I do recreation as the modality. And I've realized a ton how physical movement can be used in progressing your mental health. Like we said, they're so interconnected, the mind and the body and like the soul or the heart, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, 100%. If you remove the singular facets of weight loss and body sculpting, which are the two things that as an industry exist within exercise and the idea of being healthy, the benefits of how you eat, what you eat, how you work out, how you move, cover 90% of what makes us preventively healthy.
Interesting.
But we don't. None of that's marketable. One, it's every time you and those. It's hard to convince someone who has been taught that the way they lose weight is by working out, but they don't want to lose weight, or the reason they work out is to get strong or to run a lot, where there is a host of benefits in between that are far more beneficial than any of those two end games.
Yeah. Have you ever read the book Spark? I think is what it's called.
No.
It's an amazing book. We read it when I worked at the Utah State Hospital, which I don't work there anymore. But that was one of my first jobs. They were really into like that, because the Utah State Hospital is where people go when like every other resource has failed, and it's either you're going to jail or you're going to the Utah State Hospital. Like those are the two options. And sometimes, and there's even a crossover because there is a forensics unit at the Utah State Hospital. So, we read this book, and it was a life-changing book because essentially the premise, the takeaway that I got from it was like, yes, physical activity is helpful for your body, but maybe more importantly, like 80% more importantly, it's healthy for your mind, like, and your soul, like, because I go on walks, like, and they're like 15 to 30-minute walks. I'm not reaching like maybe I'm minorly reaching aerobic levels, maybe,
right?
But like, the fact is that every time I go now, it gives me such meaning and purpose. Like,
it's when you remove the rigid idea of what exercise is supposed to look like.
Yes.
You realize that it's just moving.
Yes.
I think somewhere on my website, hopefully, I describe, and this is the difference between exercise and training. Training is with a very specific plan and purpose.
Yeah.
But exercise is either moving differently, more, or specifically.
Yeah.
And that's all. Like, it doesn't matter what. It just, that's it. That's what exercise is. It doesn't matter how long it is. It doesn't matter how hard it is.
That's beautiful.
Like, yeah.
That's because that's what I've been doing, because I've also started doing yoga recently. And it's funny because actually I have a question for you. This is
okay.
So lately I've been thinking about this because I was in a time of like a week of stress. It was just, I don't know why, but stress was just greater than usual. And I was doing a lot of like internal processing, like thinking through things, and that prevented me from not prevented, but I didn't do a lot of things on the outside. Like, I didn't meditate as much. I didn't do yoga as much. I missed some walks. So I was talking with one of my friends, and he was like, yeah, it like, when I do, like, what changed his life is doing these outward things changed who he was on the inside. But see, for me, I almost feel like it's the opposite times. Like, I work from the inside, and that then manifests into certain behaviors and actions. So in your experience and what you've seen in your, like, growing up, what would you say, like, is the balance between those two things? So like working from a perspective inside out versus outside in.
So here's I'm going to butcher this horribly because I haven't talked about it outwardly ever. I've only read it and thought about it. I have like 5 different thoughts. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna go with the first most logical thought. And in looking at what you described specifically, the thing that took me on the path that I'm on now with how I view exercise and how I try to help people is when I realized the logical connection between this physical symptoms of stress and the fact that what causes them isn't always physical. So like, by the time a doctor would be like, hey, you're stressed out.
Yeah.
It is a physical symptom and manifestation of what's happening to your body.
Yeah.
So I do not believe from a metaphysical standpoint in mental or emotional stress. I believe in mental or emotional stressors or triggers.
Interesting.
Because by the time you're trying to deal with the symptoms that are affecting you, it is a physiological response. And if it's a physiological response, you can work backwards physically to, like, it won't fix the problem of why it existed. Yeah. But while you're trying to solve that, you can use the physical nature of the fact that there are symptoms. I'm not saying pills, but they can help.
Sure.
But if you look at from a evolutionary standpoint, if you look at stress as your body being like, what, there's a cougar following me, but I don't know where it is. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's your fight or flight turns on. It's not all the way on because you're not running yet, but it's kind of like a little bit of adrenaline just in case. And you're stretching that over a long period of time. Yeah. Those symptoms are all based on your body thinks it's in danger. So if you do something to physically exercise the sensation it's having. Like you think you're being stalked by something.
Yeah.
Go for a run. You think you've been threatened by your boss. Throw something heavy against a wall. Like build that into like you're literally ending the cycle of stress that has been created.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in one of your videos on YouTube. A little clip was that, like, it was a Q&A, and I remember thinking how amazing that was to, like, and I think your body tells you a lot of times what it wants to do, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then like allowing yourself to do that is the hard part sometimes.
It is because the thing that makes it, I would say, the thing that turns the stress into anxiety. Anxiety is prolonged stress.
Oh, fascinating.
When you don't know what the opponent is.
Oh, fascinating. Interesting.
Yeah. So COVID creates anxiety because you can't see it. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know what's attacking you.
And it's new.
Right, but it's a constant threat. Yep. So you're on guard. Thus, you have anxiety.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah. That is very well put. I love it.
So that thought process, not specifically with COVID, but with how you look at stress, is what kind of really had me go down the idea of how do we connect physically what affects the mind and vice versa.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try and remember what you're.
No, I got it. Actually,
about going inward.
I have a follow up on this, and it relates to it. So this is good because I do think you're right. I think like focusing on that outward. You said working backwards, and I think that's the outside in approach that I think of. So if you
that was okay. I have another whole other tangent for that, but keep going.
Okay, so I was wondering. So as you like work your way backwards, as you're reversing that process, you start with the physical, and you like, so you feel that prolonged adrenaline, and you feel like you're being stalked. Like that's the feeling that you're having. You decide to just run and start running every day. And I guess, how then does that work backwards? Like, do you only stay at the physical level, or does it go into the other areas?
You're not working backwards physically.
Okay.
You're deconstructing it logically to fit before you decide what to do. The actual physical implement is the end of the stress cycle. Okay. The reason you get adrenaline is to purge it.
Yeah.
So you're looking at like, what am I feeling? What is causing what I'm feeling? And then you're choosing the appropriate end to that cycle.
So how do you find out what it is that's causing you stress then? If it's not the like physical thing, how do you find out what is causing you stress?
Probably by getting help. Honestly,
you're right. You're totally right.
Like so if you look, you can look out. I'm going to separate it from specific stress versus chronic stress.
General stress. Okay, yeah.
If you look at like the holiday season coming up, we're all going to deal with basically the crunch of
a ton of stress
in too many directions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We know that's coming. We know that stress is going to be there. The reason we're being stressed out is because we're being pulled too far for our own selves to remain healthy. And we know that in theory, it's a temporary set of stress, which is why we put up with it every year. We know that at some point it ends and it'll go back to quote unquote normal. Dealing with that is much easier because it's a very specific, intense threat. So during that period in time, even though we don't work out as much, it is what you're dealing with is a bunch of anger that you don't have anything to lash out at.
Interesting.
So honestly, during the winter for me personally is when I do the most boxing. It's when I do plyometrics more. Like it's low rep, high intensity. Just screw the world.
The last time I took a boxing class, it was in the winter.
See,
I never had thought about that before.
And that's my personal. The true answer is that it's different for every individual.
Sure.
You have to be able to enjoy it,
that's
and you have to be interested in trying it. If you hate running, and your body's like, I'm being stalked. Going to run is just going to build more anxiety.
Yeah.
So you'll need some version of a cardio response, but there's all that means is that your heart and lungs are going. It doesn't matter what the activity is.
Yeah.
When you have chronic stress, which for most people, or chronic anxiety, for a lot of people, you're going to be dealing with home life work or homework balance. You're going to be dealing with the environment at your job. You're going to be dealing with maybe you are pulled in too many directions, but it's like a situation you can't undo now. You're looking more at like finding victories where you can. You're it's not so like if you have like one big workout a week that is like, this is your adrenaline dump, it kind of lets you reset, and it's part of the process. Yeah.
That is amazing. So it is so interesting. I had so many thoughts while you're saying that. Like, what?
Yeah, go for it.
I just think like, I think another factor that plays into it is like, yeah, these things, a lot of like the socio-normative ways of getting this stress out. What would you say the top physical activities right now are? Like running?
For like what people actually use?
Let's say like in the United States, what would you say people's top form of exercises are?
Oh,
how do they get their exercise?
I'm going to say either running.
Yeah.
Riding bikes at a gym.
Bikes, that's a good one, yeah.
Specifically stationary bikes.
Because Peloton's a big thing right now, right?
If you're going at like specifically what most people are using, I would say running, bikes, cardio activities.
Yeah.
Because they believe they're more beneficial for losing weight, which is psychologically what they're trying to do to make themselves feel better.
Weight maintenance.
But also,
well, that's what we've been told. Also, that's what we've been told helps the most.
Yeah, exactly.
Not necessarily true.
The other one is, unfortunately, yoga. If you're a woman, and weightlifting if you're a guy.
Interesting.
And it's dumb. Because both should do both.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. For sure. I've just started yoga, and it is life-changing to do that.
Yeah. Those are the areas that people approach exercise from.
Yeah.
Even if they're looking, that I've seen, even if they're looking to battle stress.
Yeah.
They don't consider whether or not they enjoy the activity they're participating in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That's always been my struggle, is I'm not liking what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I loved sports, was because I liked them. You know, like it was fun for me to do it.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about exercise. I was focused on the fun.
Right? Yeah.
But now 100%. In my adulthood, it's like, oh, I need to play sports because it like keeps me in physical shape. And it's like, yes, that's true. But like, it's also fun.
That gets into the conversation of maintaining your curiosity and vitality, which is not a physical thing, but if you don't allow your body to feel it, it goes away.
So, okay, you personally, what do you like? What are some activities that you would say are fun for you? Like
for me,
what do you find the most fun in?
Oh man! All right.
Also, so this tea is so spicy.
Are you getting
mouth is on fire.
Are you getting the citrus kick?
I don't think it's citrus. It tastes like pepper spray. Cinnamon? Maybe it's cinnamon. It's cinnamon.
Oh, it is cinnamon. Yeah. That'll do it too.
It's so spicy.
But isn't it waking up your brain?
It is. I'm like, after this, I'm like, I'm gonna go and like lift a car above my head and fucking throw it, you know?
You might as well be drinking smelling salts.
Yeah, exactly. I play hockey. Like, smelling salts is what we do. That's like, you pass that around on the bench and it gets you pumped up.
100%.
Okay, so
mine's not spicy. Mine is caffeine tea with tangerine.
I think it's also the caffeine, because
that's on purpose.
I rarely do caffeine. I rarely do it. So I'm like ready to go.
Well, I appreciate you taking this journey with me.
I'm so excited. Like I love it. I do feel it. I feel it for sure.
Sorry, your question. Oh, me personally.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to talk about myself personally, but I want to give a caveat because unless I'm working one-on-one with a specific client, I always try to speak in generalizations.
Sure.
Because everything is specific to you and your experience will never be my experience.
Totally makes sense.
However, my entire existence is built on the identity of wanting to be Batman when I grow up.
I love that.
Yeah. It's the ethos with which I operate in how I keep myself healthy so I can help others. It's the manner in which I choose how to manage my stress. It's the way I choose to go about educating myself.
Interesting.
I grew up playing sports, and so in general, if I feel like I can't get up and run away from something, mentally I feel unsafe.
Interesting.
So from a preservation standpoint, my go-to is to make sure that my core is engaged and like open and available to hold my body together.
Wow.
And then my feet don't feel like they're weighted down by cement.
Wow.
I was actually talking to a client about this because while running the gym, I also worked at a grocery store to pay the bills.
Yeah, sure. I did that.
So we had our own business, but it was
cashier.
Yep.
I was a bag boy.
What?
I was a bag boy.
Oh, nice. I was a grocery clerk.
It's great.
But sometimes if I'm not eating right or maintaining myself, I'd start to feel my lower back and glutes would lock up.
Oh, wow.
Actually, that's not true. My glutes would lock up and I would feel my lower back, which is what 90% of the time, by the way, if you're feeling your lower back and there was not a traumatic incident that caused it, it's because your butt is tight.
Wow, interesting.
The top of the butt pulls onto the bottom of the pelvis.
Sure.
And it holds it in place, and that causes the strain to be felt up through your lower back.
Wow, super interconnected that way. That is amazing.
And when that happens, I then start to subconsciously, I start to stack my posture through my joints rather than through activating my muscles because everything just kind of turns off. So that's when I start to feel my knees and my ankles and my hips and I start to feel like I'm 55. And like if I have to go run, something's going to pop out of place. But if I were to go get an exoscan, my physiology has not changed.
Oh yeah. That's fair.
Right. Yeah. So maintaining this, not having that sensation is the biggest focus I have in how I approach this activity or exercise. I also enjoy differences. So like new things or like not the same thing over and over again.
Novel. Yeah.
I enjoy working out in the gym because that is the moment I feel like I'm becoming Batman. So I happen to be a weightlifting hobbyist, which a lot of people who would approach fitness this way will not be. And that is important to understand. That is okay. I'm also really into the idea of calisthenics because the idea of being able to manipulate my body through space is what makes me feel safe. And then boxing and kickboxing are my cardio because I'm Batman.
What else could it be? What else would it be, you know?
And I'm not pretending that I'm good at any of this. I only do it because I enjoy doing it as I'm doing it.
It makes you feel a certain way. I mean, that's why I play video games. That's why.
Exactly.
Because I am. Like, it's weird because I played a lot of League of Legends. Like, way too much League of Legends. Like, unhealthy amounts, you know? And it was. I eventually just like kept playing and playing, and I thought like, why am I playing this? And until I asked the question like, why am I playing this? Then I was able to understand how I can have a better relationship with it. So like, I kind of resent my past with like League of Legends. I spent too much time on it, but like, I'm grateful that I was able to get its skill acquisition for me. Like, I now recognize how important skill acquisition is for me. like feeling like I'm getting better at something.
Yes. Yeah. Which you can do in everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like
that's what strength training is.
Yeah. That's amazing. And strength training has a measurable way to do it with weights, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think actually this was one of the monologues of one of my podcasts. Yeah. The process of adaptation is what strength training is.
I don't know if I listened to that one. You're probably right, but I don't know if I listened.
So the process of adaptation is the evolutionary concept of like why we stand the way we stand, why we have the bone structure we do, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But strength training is taking on a micro scale the idea of the process of adaptation and forcing it where you want it on purpose.
Yeah.
Which is also what habit training is.
Yeah.
Or skill building.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, the process of the muscles being slightly destroyed, and then given a break to recover and then get used to the stimulus, is the same thing that happens if like you work on juggling or you work on playing video games, or like it's literally the same process. Which is why as I dug deeper and deeper into understanding this, why I stuck with personal training, because I think if I can teach it through strength training, you have the bare bones for doing it with anything else.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So, I actually have only listened to your YouTube channel. I haven't checked out your website.
Okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is where I'm going to sound like a really horrible bad guy.
Good. Hey, Batman, Bruce Wayne had Wayne Enterprises. All right.
So the podcast, full episodes of the podcast are available on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcast.
Okay.
I don't think they're available anywhere else because I don't have any of the other RSS feeds loaded.
I don't know how to do it.
I don't know how that works.
I don't know how to do it either.
I did those three because I can maintain those three.
That's I can do one. I've only ever done one, not including this one. I guess two. This and one other one.
The full episodes that have video are only available for watching from my website.
Oh, okay.
And it's not locked behind anything. It's an extra reason to go to the website.
Yep,
that's all it is.
Absolutely. Funnel it in.
Yeah, it's also where I have all my donated buy me a cup of coffee stickers and all that stuff. Like rather than having separate websites, I'm kind of channeling everything in. I don't do Patreon. Yeah. I have my home fitness program that's $10 a month, and that's my extra content that is on my website.
See, this is amazing because I've been thinking about doing this because I want to funnel everything through YouTube, and I was thinking,
but you don't own it.
No, but
that's the problem.
I know, you're right, and I want to do a book of poetry that I can self-publish that people could buy to support that.
Right, but then you have to teach them, once you have enough YouTube people, to go to a separate location.
Good point.
And if your goal, this is in general, if the goal is to reach as many people as possible,
sure,
then YouTube is definitely a better option.
Yeah.
If your goal is to get people to get to a resource that you can offer them, it's a longer process if you do it manually.
Yeah.
But you own what you're sharing, and it's you have no one else to huddle with it.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I'm going to have to take that with me and think about it. Like,
I want, like, the podcast and stuff. I'm not all that's supposed to be free. All my, like, I was talking to a friend yesterday that the way I view how I set up my programs, because my desire to help people enjoy themselves is not a business model. It is an intrinsic thing that I have and can't not do. So I look at it kind of like trying to study history in a university, in that it doesn't get more complicated the further you go. It gets more specific, right? Like if you're doing math, there's more horrible math you have to learn the higher up you go. History doesn't like add layers of calculus to itself. It's just like a more compressed time period with more details.
That's true.
So the quality of interaction I attempt to give to a random person on Twitter is the same that I'll give to a person in my training program. The difference is that the training program gets it more often and just for them.
Yeah, for sure. Huh. That is interesting. At the end of this, send me anything you want me to put in the show notes, by the way, for any of your stuff.
Oh, sure.
There, so
awesome. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn that into an advertisement, which is why I was like, this is where I sound like the bad guy.
I'm glad you did. I'm so, because it's interesting. Like, I want people as well, if they connect with something, to know where they can go. Like,
yeah. Well, so the podcast is available on Google Podcasts and Spotify, and technically, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Yeah. Apparently, no one uses Google Podcasts, but I did.
I do.
Oh, okay.
It's the only one I use.
Oh, good.
I actually just subscribed on there. I can show you.
Oh, good. The interface, if you're wondering, behind the scenes baseball. The interface of Google's RSS is the most difficult of all of them.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. There's what I understand is a bunch of not Apple versions pull from the Apple RSS feed.
Yeah, okay.
And Spotify has its own, and there's a couple like premium apps that have their own as well, and that's why I haven't done those, because they're premium apps.
Yeah.
Google's the other, I guess, free app that built their own RSS feed because they didn't want to have to pay Apple, basically.
Yeah.
And so they did it. We'll do it our way, and their way means it takes an extra week for your things to load.
Of course.
Like
of course.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that's where the podcast is. I only record and release monthly because
that's great.
I view the podcast as part of everything that I do to help people. Yeah. So I balance it between training and the personal or the home fitness program, and interactions through the medias to be a human.
Yeah. I've just had to realize how much I've had to scale. I have to scale this channel back because I was too ambitious. Like, right.
My whole thought process was, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I have episodes if no one knows it exists and can't watch it or listen to it.
Exactly.
So the initial thought process was, by doing it once a month, I can focus in between on making sure I have guests lined up and letting the world know that I exist as a human being in a thing. Because that's free time that no one ever pays you for.
Yeah, for sure.
And that morphed into what I realized about giving the same interactions regardless of whether it's a plan or not. Actually, that's where I learned that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's wonderful. I think it's amazing what you're doing. I love it. I have always, so when I lived in Utah, I work now in acute mental health is what I'd call it. So short-term people coming to a hospitalized setting for reasons of mental health. Sometimes it's depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, but it goes also to schizophrenia and psychosis, which is what before I was more in the mood disorder. I mean, quote unquote mood disorder. I hate a lot of the terminology we use, but it's what we have right now. So
right.
But so it's mainly depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, self-harm, things like that. And I always thought, like, these people need a place they can go to for like 1 or 2 days if they're in a crisis state. Like, they don't, 90% of them don't need to stay longer than that. Some of them do. Some of them totally do. And I respect that. Like, you got to figure it out. But what these people that just have these short, because like in my past, I've had suicidal ideation. And actively, like, I'm realizing now there's a difference between active and passive, right? Sorry if this is too much, by the way.
No, go for it. I had the last rant. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, I just incorporate. I talk about suicide a lot because I work with it a lot, so I don't know if it's too much or not. So when I was in that like active state, I needed like 1 or 2 days just on my own, and then it shifted to passive. Like, I still felt horrible, but I could at least like function, you know?
Yeah.
And I just always thought, like, especially as a recreation therapist, I focus all of what I do on fun. Like, if it's not fun for people to come to my groups, there's no reason they should be coming, you know?
Right.
Like, I want them to have fun in each one of my groups. If I didn't, I should become a talk therapist. Like,
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Because whenever I've got to talk therapy, it's boring, but
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
but it's helpful. It's useful.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to focus more on the fun. And I just thought, like, these people have these very acute, short-term mental health crises, need a place they can go for 1 or 2 days, and then afterwards need a place they can go and just have fun and interact. And like, that's that maintenance, you know, like,
yeah, and kind of build a little bit of, I don't want to say hope, but a little bit of like some victories, a little. Yeah.
And like, so like, I wanted to call it like mental health fitness and have it be like a gym, you know, and like you said, like, you do like really, really low level beginner stuff to like help people learn how to do it.
Yep.
And I always thought that was like the dream. And you could play like dodgeball, you know, you could
100%
do games and stuff if the people find that fun. So, yeah.
I actually, I'm going to bear to you a secret that I've never told anyone in the entire world.
I'm ready.
So, by now I'm assuming you know that I closed the gym and studio.
Yes, and now you're solely working on
digitally.
Yes.
Yeah. So part of the process that went into closing the studio was not COVID's fault.
Yeah.
But something that we were probably going to do when the lease was up. Not because of feeling like we failed, but because we had set it up with ourselves in the wrong corner. In that it would not be emotionally and mentally stable enough for us to work the quota of people we needed to exist.
Yes.
Then quit our jobs and then suddenly start hiring a staff.
Yes.
And it was right. So it was just me and my wife doing wonderful work. We were hobby adjacent because of how we built it.
Wow.
But everything we were experiencing was through osmosis through other people.
Yeah. And failure.
Yeah. 100%. So the only way that I would do a brick and mortar location again is if I start with having a crew that means I can exist day to day and basically I'll work as a team to help people. And this is a secret. I don't know if it exists. I don't know if it's legally viable. And I want to say this out loud in case some random person hears this and wants to take it for themselves, because I don't think it's something you can copyright as an idea.
Yeah.
But if I were to, because what was missing, the part that I never got to was other people accepting the gym as the community center that I saw in my head.
Sure, absolutely.
Which requires a staff and a higher budget and right. So the idea is to build everyday superhero headquarters.
My gosh, that's beautiful.
As the figurehead,
that is amazing.
And all it is a space, and that space then sublets to personal trainers, massage therapists, mental health therapists, chiropractors in their separate fields, and because that's where the profit comes from. Members get to pay a regular gym membership instead of personal training. And I don't have to pay the employees. I get to work them as 1090 workers. And so it's a shared workspace that underneath everyday superhero HQ.
Oh, that's awesome.
But you still get the community. You still get it allows me to bring in people's from fields that I technically don't have the degrees in to teach, but want to help with.
Wow. Well, if that ever happens, by the way, if I want to contribute, because you better make sure your secret quarters are called the Bat Cave. Like, you have to have something off to the side that's like hidden underground, and it's called the Bat Cave.
That'll be the CrossFit gym. That'll be the.
Just so everybody knows, CrossFit is what Batman does. Like, that is the same. That's amazing.
It's not. It's just in appearance. That's what you would think. Yeah.
I love it. That is. But
that is the business model that I would grow the next physical location from.
Wow. I'm gonna send this to you after we're done. I don't want to. There's Billy Collins is a poet who I love. He's one of my favorite poets, and he did like an interview with NPR, and he has this video where he talks about writing poetry that nobody else sees, and it just like that creative process of like how we get these grand ideas, and then we might start on it. I might be like, that wasn't the right way to do it, you know, like that's not, it was never going to work that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the idea is gone. It just means like, I need to try, there's a different way and it's going to happen at some point.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. I'll send that video to you. It was awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. I want to be wrapping up here pretty soon, but since Batman has come up, I'm not a huge Batman fan. Okay, so like I know what it means to be a huge Batman fan.
Okay.
I am an above average Batman fan, like in my knowledge of Batman.
Fair.
The things that I love about Batman are the fact that he is a normal person, he's a
human on steroids.
Exactly. And to me, what actually has made Batman the best comic book franchise, at least one of the best DC comic, easy, right? Marvel comic, I think the only one for me that competes is Spider-Man. But the reason why Batman is so great is the villains, in my opinion.
I agree. And you know why he has so many great villains? Because of his no killing rule.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true.
There's a trope with Wonder Woman making fun of him all the time because she doesn't have a rogues gallery because her villains get their heads chopped off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So so people are less likely to become that villainous.
Yeah. Or not that villainous. They don't get the opportunity to be part of the life cycle of the character.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Right? Because like if you just look at the Joker has evolved to be part of the dichotomy of what Batman means.
Oh my god.
You can't have that if you kill him.
That is amazing. It's that long-term like, and like you're right, because other superhero heroes have tried to do it, but it doesn't quite work as well. Like Superman has oh my gosh, what's his bucket? Is it Darkseid?
Well, that's Justice League, but yeah.
Oh, that's Justice League. Is it? But who's the opposite of Superman? Like, who's his rival?
General Zod.
Oh, General Zod. So they're both.
And then Lex Luthor, and
Lex Luthor. That's an interesting one, actually.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite villains.
So, yeah, I've never thought about it. The first place that I fell in love with the Lex Luthor character was in Smallville, actually.
That is my favorite depiction of the character.
It's the actor that does it, and the way it was written is so good.
He's so good.
There's an episode, and I remember this so well. Sorry, I know we're going to Superman, but his dad is blind, or it goes blind in that. Lex Luthor's dad does.
Yep.
And he's playing pool, and he picks up one of the pool balls and chucks it at his dad's head, and his dad catches it. And Lex Luthor proves that his dad was faking his blindness.
Yeah. Yep.
It was such a good scene. So the question I wanted to ask was, what is one of your favorite Batman depictions?
Depictions?
In media. So movie. It could be a movie, a TV show, a comic book. Which one do you feel the most like connection to? Because I know my answer, but I want to hear yours for sure.
Can I break it up into categories?
Yeah, I actually thought of the question too. Maybe the one that you fell in love with first, like the first one that you remember feeling.
That's my James Bond answer. The your favorite is the one that you came of age with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my favorite Bond is Pierce Brosnan, not because it's the best, but because that's to my mind what Bond looks like.
Yeah, he's like the worst, but the video game for me sold that.
Exactly. Well, to me, he physically looked like what Bond should look like the most.
Interesting.
Anyway, so my favorite portrayal of the Batman character
Yeah.
was in the Batman and Robin story arc in the comics when Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne were Batman and Robin.
See, I haven't seen that one or read it.
It's right before the New 52 kicked off.
Who wrote it?
I want to say Grant Morrison. I could be wrong.
I love Grant Morrison.
It was at the same time was when Tim Drake had the Red Robin solo series.
Oh, yeah.
And it was all part of the Battle for the Cowl storyline.
I have read this. I just don't remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite story within all of the Bat family is the Red Robin solo series.
Yeah.
So the Batman and Robin series that followed it is why that depiction is my favorite. And the fact that it's not Bruce Wayne, that is a big deal for me.
Yeah. I mean, that came out in 2010, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, right. 2012 was New 52. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. My favorite, what I picture when I think of a movie Batman is Michael Keaton's Batman.
Yeah, yeah. For sure. The 89
even
film,
though he
right?
couldn't turn his neck, I think that's aesthetic is what was used in the comics for so long.
Yeah. Do you want to hear something horrible?
Yes.
I've never watched that Batman.
That's okay.
I know. I want to so bad because it's Tim Burton and it's got
Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah, and what's the guy on doing the soundtrack? The guy from Oingo Boingo.
Elfman.
Yeah, Danny Elfman. All those things I love, and Michael Keaton, and I love all those things. I need to watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch that today because now I'm all hopped up on caffeine.
Yep. My favorite Batman movie is Batman Forever.
Is that the Last in the Begin series?
No, Batman Forever is the Val Kilmer Batman.
Oh yeah,
it's the one before Batman and Robin, and people group the two movies together.
Wow, I don't know if I ever saw it.
It's the one with Brian O'Connell playing Robin, and it has his story how he becomes Robin. It has Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Oh yeah, that's the Jim Carrey one. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right. You're right. Because I think of that one as being the sequel to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's the other way around.
So that was the prequel to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, really? Arnold Schwarzenegger Batman, or Mr. Freeze, is the one that destroyed the franchise.
Yeah.
Now, from if I go back and watch it, cinematically, it is not as good as the Nolan films.
Sure, yeah.
Or the first Batman '89. But what I remember is the same thing I remember when I watched Ninja Turtles nowadays.
Yeah.
And which is why they switched directors and styles in the first place, which means it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, right.
It's the argument that this wasn't for the adult. It was broody, but it was covered in neon lights because it's bright and fun and shiny.
Yeah.
There were too many characters because they had to sell toys, but who cares? Those were like every actor in that movie gave 110%.
I had those toys.
That's the only reason it holds water.
I totally had those toys too. I totally had
100%.
them.
Yeah. So that's my favorite Batman movie.
That one has the circus scene in it. With Robin in the circus.
With the bomb that crashed. Yeah.
I remember that scene. Like, I don't remember anything that happens in that movie. I still can picture that. And I think I saw it in theaters with my mom. And I think my mom didn't like it.
No.
Yeah. This is making so much sense now.
Yeah. Yeah. When I watch it from like the idea of a cinematographer, I go, I realized why people did not like this. But
I can't talk because I love Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre, and like those movies are horribly cinematography wise. I love them.
Yeah. My favorite Batman story.
Okay.
Not depiction of Batman, but story is The Long Halloween. The comic.
I did read that one. It's
which I know is cliche to say, but
I remember the Killing Joke more. That's the thing, is I remember the Killing Joke more than the Long Halloween. Oh, they're making a movie out of it.
They're making an animated movie.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Yep.
Wait, I remember the cover for the Long Halloween had a calendar, right?
Yeah. Because the murders are happening on every holiday of the month.
Oh, that's right.
So the reason that is my favorite story is that my favorite aspect of Batman is the detective aspect, but you don't see it portrayed in games or movies.
Yeah, even like the video games are very simplistic detective work. Yeah. Have you tried the Telltale game? Is that one?
I did some of it. Okay. That was cool. From a story perspective, it was in the right direction. But because of how the Telltale games work, it's not.
Yeah, I hate those games. Like, I try to play them, and I'm like, oh, I would rather read a book. Read a book.
Have you played either of the Injustice games?
Yes, and I'm horrible at them.
That's okay.
See, that's why I want to get good at fighting games, is because the skill acquisition. It's like, that is like the pinnacle of controller skill acquisition.
That and first-person shooters, because it's reflex based.
Yeah.
And if I had a friend, God, this is another tangent. I think it was in middle school who destroyed how he looked at first-person shooters, and I went through like 4 years before I played another one because of it. And it was we were playing mouse and keyboard. We were doing LAN parties where like you lug your computer to your friend's house and like hook them all up.
Was it Halo?
No.
Oh, mine was Halo.
I resent Halo because of it not going to PC first. Because I was a PC gamer at the time.
Yeah, that's
and it was fair. They pulled it from the PC release to be an Xbox
only
launch. Yeah. And I still believe this to this day. If you're playing for skill, keyboard and mouse is more intuitive than controller.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So no, not Halo. It was Counter-Strike, it was Half-Life, it was
Counter-Strike
Classic, it was
and what's funny is some of those aren't multiplayer games. Like,
but they all had multiplayer modes.
Oh, the LAN.
Yes, it was a LAN party.
Gosh.
Yeah. So the industry of what we now view as multiplayer games is built on that concept being on the web now.
Beautiful. That's what we did with Halo, but it was with Xboxes.
Yeah.
Not old ass computers.
Yeah, we would lug. This was how I used to weight train. Was carrying the tower. We were playing PC keyboard and mouse. And I get lost in the game was like from the stimulation of like, I'm doing things. And my friend who was always better than me and much more of like a black and white thinker was like, I don't know why you struggle with this. All you're doing is taking the pointer of your mouse and clicking on the guy's head. And the more you click, the faster they die. And I went, no, there's got to be more to it than that. And then I stopped playing.
He just made it too simple. He oversimplified it.
Yeah, what he did was he put on the center of her screen, he put taped a tiny white dot.
Oh my gosh!
So it looked like an arrow cursor.
Oh my gosh!
And it changed how he looked at what he was. Yeah, he didn't see.
That is
the
amazing.
Graphics. Yeah, this used to apparently. This is before my time. Really common in old Quake multiplayer matches. Because Quake is the ultimate skill-based game because you memorize the maps and it's reflex-based.
Yep.
And the pace that people work at is amazing. Like
so fast.
If you don't know, it's kind of like a racing game where like if you don't know the track, like you're gonna get obliterated.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one player can win a match because it's their map, and another player will win a match because it's their map, but they're the same skill level. Yeah.
Wow.
But they would mute all the graphics, so it was just sprites, so they could just move as quickly as possible.
Oh my gosh. That is I wonder how your friend found out to do that. Like, did he just think of it, or was
I think honestly, it's more how he interacts with the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
because the internet didn't exist back then. So if you either had to come up with that on your own, or you had to hear about it word of mouth somehow, right? Like, or get like a magazine. That'd be the only way.
Yep. But the reason I brought up Injustice was
Oh yeah.
I played the second one recently, and when I say I played the second one, I played the story mode.
Okay.
And what I loved was that I got to take care of the punchy bits of the story, and then I just got to watch a 2-hour movie.
Oh, interesting. See, that's cool.
There's like between each fight, there's like 20 minutes of cutscene
Yeah.
of like dialogue for why you're punching the people. Wow. It was beautiful.
That's got to be on YouTube somewhere because I can't do the punchy part, but I would love to watch the movie.
You do what I do and turn it to the easiest possible mode.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right, because it depends on why you're playing the game.
You feel like a superhero.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you always win.
Yes.
That's my problem. Is I hate losing.
But you still get the satisfaction of like hitting combos, whether you're good at it or not.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah. I think I might have that game downloaded. I need to check that out.
Yeah, it's awesome. That is whenever it's the same way I played The Last of Us and Uncharted. I turned it to the easiest mode because I want to like enjoy being immersed in the story. Wow. I don't want to have to get stuck behind this stupid wall of thugs that
Well, that is amazing. Thanks for answering the Batman questions, by the way. That was,
sorry, I got there eventually.
You did, and I wanted to save it because I knew it would be a very good answer. So I was excited to see everything you had to say about it. I want to get into the Batman games too, the like PC Arkham Asylum and the Arkham games.
Yeah,
I think I did beat one of them, which I don't usually beat games, so that was impressive.
Yeah, we stopped playing before we get to that point.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always done. I just started a new game, and now I'm like, yeah, maybe I won't finish it. You know, like I don't know. Have you
played Last of Us? The first one?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
because it's PlayStation.
I highly recommend it. The experience. Did you ever play the first Half-Life game?
I played a little bit of it, but I didn't ever get into it.
Okay, so the thing that Half-Life, the original one, did that was technically genre breaking and no one ever seemed to replicate again was there were no cutscenes in the story. So like everything that happened was immersed in the levels and the people you bumped in, and it wasn't an RPG, so like you didn't have choices to make. But like if you walk by like a scientist, he has dialogue that he gives you. And if you walk away when he's talking, you miss that dialogue.
You just lose it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is why no one knows what Half-Life was about.
Yeah.
Because at some point you're just shooting aliens and it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But that was what they did that was different from everybody else. And The Last of Us was the same. When they built you're told this beautifully enriching and slightly grotesque story of survival and family and what it means to trust. And at no point does unless it is loading a section of level, at no point does you interacting with the world stop. So it's not open world like a Grand Theft Auto game where you're like, go wherever the hell you want. Yeah. But it feels that way.
Wow.
And everything you talk to or interact with is just giving you exposition and exploring further as to what's going on. And like, as the character learns to trust things, you're learning to trust things. And when the character's heart gets ripped out, your heart gets ripped out for the same reason. Like
That's pretty incredible. I want to. It's on PlayStation, right?
Yeah, that's where I played it.
I need to get a place. I need to get an old PlayStation.
I got a PS4 bundle. I think then a week or two after they announced when the PS5 was going to be released because everything dropped in price. And I got a bundle that had Uncharted 4, Ratchet and Clank, and God of War, and The Last of Us.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And the whole bundle was like $200.
Oh my gosh. I wish I could have been, because I tried to do that and I missed I just missed the boat. I was too late and I was like,
they were all used copies of the games that they threw in with the system. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I should go back on Craigslist and see if I can find anything. I just moved to the Northwest.
I got it from the horrible people at GameStop.
No way. It was that cheap.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, because I would
they had to get rid of their stock to make room for the PS5s.
I would do that in a heartbeat. Next time I will be next release, I'll be going to a GameStop for sure.
Yeah. Yep. I also I have this is a weird story. I love what's the name of the series? Borderlands. I love Borderlands. I love the art style.
Yes.
I love the problem is that game is cursed for me.
Why?
I've owned the first game 3 separate times.
Yeah.
The first time I owned it on when I had an Xbox 360.
Yep.
And the CD got damaged.
Oh no.
In moving from Seattle to Nashville.
Yeah.
And then the Xbox 360 itself somehow kind of lasted for way longer than it should have.
Yeah.
And some games would run and some wouldn't, and that was one that would not run. It would load and then crash and then never again. And then actually 2 times. I've owned it twice. The second time I owned it, I downloaded it for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
And I love that it's a co-op game. I love because you don't have split screen anymore. I love the idea of cooperatively playing with my friends.
Yeah.
It's very therapeutic to be like running through a game and like making sure everyone's okay, like in real life at the same time.
Love it.
And I don't think it was that game, but my PlayStation account got hacked. And I lost, and I got lost like $500.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But someone used my log somehow was logged into mine and spent $500 worth of stuff.
Bought a ton of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of it got turned around, but not all of it. Anyway, but I had to make a new account, and I lost Borderlands because it was a downloaded game.
It was at the time. Sad.
At the time, it was the only game I didn't physically own. It was
that is so sad.
So I keep wanting to, and it's the first one. I want to finish the first one to play the second one. And one. But I keep being like, if I do this again, what else is going to go wrong?
Exactly, right? Yeah, I thought, because I built a computer and it's old now at this point, and so I need to start upgrading it because it's really old. But the Borderlands are great because they don't have high specs, like spec requirements, because the art style is so unique. The third one's a different story. I haven't played it, but I've finished all 3 of those games just because like they were amazing. They were so incredible.
So good.
Yeah. Like that was that moment that you talked about, like where yes, you're playing and improving and like having fun and getting guns, but like I just wanted to find out what was going to happen. Like
exactly.
What's next in the story? What's next?
Yep.
That's why, I mean, that's why I love D&D as well. Like what you were saying, it's a chance for all of you to connect and like check in with each other in the game.
It's group storytelling.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you check in with each other in the game, but also outside of the game too. It's like,
100%. I love that. Yeah. The camaraderie around the table is a real thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And digitally, it's similar, but it's harder to get a read on it, like for sure. Because because I just had a session recently where I played, and I've been playing with my friends for over a year now, or probably about 2 years at this point. We play pretty consistently, and it was a hard session. Like there was like an assassin that got sent after these characters and all these things, and my friend just was in like, he personally was not in a good headspace, you know? And so it showed in his character. But
that makes sense.
But these terrible things were happening in the world, and like I feel like if I could have seen my friend and been around him, we've been friends since kindergarten, you know? And so
this is a digital game?
We're playing digitally, yes.
Got it.
Thank you for clarifying. So digitally, I wasn't able to like feel that connection as much.
Right. You can't have the side chatter. You can't have the right, because if you do that, everyone else hears it over someone else talking.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah. And so like I think I could have reacted a little bit differently, but now I know to like what to listen for. So I learned from it. I'll probably still make the same mistake again, but like,
is this the session that you based the anger video on?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's nice to be able to have like the just something consistent where you can check in with each other, and it doesn't have to be sitting around and talking about that specifically. You know,
100%. My before the pandemic, But also within it, my dad, my wife, and I would play PUBG Mobile on our phones.
Yeah.
And it was at one point, it was basically like once a week.
Wow.
And sometimes we would, and they have a bunch of different modes. So sometimes it was like, we're not really looking at our characters as we're dying, but we're just like checking in to make sure everyone's okay. Sometimes we're trying to be really good at the game because everything else in the world sucks, and this is the one thing I have.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Sometimes we're playing cooperatively. Sometimes we're fighting each other. Like it, but it was it allowed us to be in each other's lives without having to be in each other's lives. If that makes sense. Like it wasn't like you didn't have to like pull away from your existence to have a conversation of, hey, how are things going?
Yep.
Because you're there.
Yep.
And I'm actually, because I think I mentioned this, I'm in Nashville now, but
and you moved from Seattle, you said. I actually I live near Portland right now. We moved from Utah to Portland, so.
Yeah.
The closest I've lived to Seattle was Olympia.
Okay.
And then I guess when I was a kid, my dad worked for Microsoft, so we lived in Redmond.
That's Redmond, yeah.
Sorry, to tangent. I just have.
No, that's okay. We're good at that. Yeah. But we're moving to the Northeast, and most
big
of
change.
It is. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah. It'll be awesome.
Most of the people that carry, I want to say, emotional weight in my life. Those bonds have been built not in person because of the pandemic, not built, but like strengthened.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me feels proud in that I feel like moving to New England isn't saying goodbye.
Yeah.
To people. So I've been looking at ways of like, I hate Roll20.
It's so bad.
But I was looking at ways to incorporate what I do with my dad, with just people in general, and through digital D&D. And I found, have you heard of Vorpal board?
No, I never have.
Okay. I think they're newer. Technically, it's a very simple concept. Oh no, technically it's a very complex concept. In practice, it's a simple concept. Yeah. It's simple for us because they did all the work.
That's nice.
Yeah. The idea is that it mixes not being next to each other with playing with a live table.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're the game host or the DM, you have two things streaming. You have your phone streaming, and if you want, you can send you the clamp that you clip to your table, and then like the phone or tablets, they're just over the table. Yeah, and it live streams that to the computer.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Like you can play with physical terrain like menus and stuff as the DM. Yeah, and then everyone else can video call in to the browser.
Oh, interesting.
And not only that, but you can arrange it in whatever depiction you want. Yeah. So like if you haven't revealed the map, it can just be like the four of you talking and hanging out. And then like when the map pops up, you can go boom, and then all of a sudden there's a map.
That's cool. I like that.
And you as the DM can reach under the table and people see your hands as you're like moving stuff around. Yeah. But also everyone else has a color-coded cursor that everyone can see. So like you can hover over where you need your person to move.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's so cool. And they have integrated dice that you can roll that like roll over the screen.
Yeah.
I personally prefer to roll real life dice no matter what. Yeah. I don't care if people lie about their rolls.
Yeah. I don't care either. Yeah.
I trust that you're going to give the right thing for the right situation. Yeah. Like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, because that's a good way to put it, actually, because.
Right. Like there are times when if you roll a 2, announcing it is going to bring joy to the party. Yeah. But or like the right kind of sorrow. Yeah. But like if you're fudging like a 13 versus like a 16, like I don't care.
Exactly. Like, exactly. Like, especially if you know what the DC is. So someone's like, okay, DC 12 to like succeed on this, and you roll like an 11. Yeah. And you're like, come on, we need this win. And I agree. You need this win. Take your wins. Like,
yes.
If you need it personally, do it in the game. I don't care.
Totally fine.
Do it.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, so I started messing with it a couple days ago. And which only the host has to have it's a membership.
Okay.
So only the host needs the membership. Kind of like Zoom. Everyone else can just like pop in.
Yeah.
That
sounds cool. I'll have to check it out. I have it pulled up on my phone. I'll definitely be checking it out. Yeah,
really cool.
I was thinking when you were saying that, I was like looking at my room and I'm like, how would I have to rearrange things so I could stay in here but still have like a table for that? It would be. I think I could make it work though. I just bring in the table and have my phone set up there and do it in here.
Yeah, or you could have the table, like if you just scoot yourself back and put the map right down in front of you.
Yeah, like there's some space right here.
Yeah,
that's
there
true.
We go. Because
it could be like a pull-out drawer like this.
Yep, that would work.
Fair. That's a good point. Now, because my desk is set up funky. It's.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to see my desk really quick?
Sure.
Yeah, here we go. Trip. Oh no! I'm caught in between so many things. There we go.
Okay, I see.
This is the desk.
Oh, that's a keyboard. That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
I have and chips.
Yeah.
It's my keyboard. Actually, I pull out and I'll play piano that way.
Okay.
Dual keyboards. Okay, you're going back.
Yeah.
Oh, I have my little beholder guys too.
Nice. It was awesome. That to me felt like a way to. I also like the feast that happens with around the table, but that's not.
Oh, me too. I love that.
Yeah,
that might be the thing I miss the most, actually.
Yeah, but the finding that reignited the idea of being able to play regardless of where I am.
Wow.
And what I'm hoping, this will be months down the road. I'm hoping if it works well enough to be able to basically host monthly games.
Awesome.
Of like not even like a campaign. Like maybe it's in the same world, but like they'd be like monthly check-in games.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of like blending that with like an adventurers league. So like it's each one is a standalone mission.
Yeah.
And you can bring in whatever character you want, or I'll have some for you. Yeah. And for like 4 hours, we get to play. And players can jump in and out whether or not they're busy or whatever.
Yeah.
That is
one thing I want to do. This is a pipe dream of mine, is be able to like post on Twitter and be like, hey, I'm looking to run a 1 to 2 hour pickup game of D&D. Who wants to play? Like you were when you were kids, like you wouldn't make plans to play. You would just be
right.
You'd be like, in the moment, you'd be like, I want to play right now. And you'd call your friend up and be like, hey, let's play. That's what I want to be able to do on Twitter. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I think it'll be a good place. Well, I do have to get going.
Okay, sorry.
No, are you kidding me? I've loved this. How long would you guess we've been talking for if you had to guess?
Hour and a half.
It's flown by. I have been so invested in this. I have loved every minute of it. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. Last question to sign off then.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions, of course. But last question to sign off. Favorite food while playing D&D?
Ooh. Okay. I don't know that I have a favorite food specifically for D&D.
Okay.
Because of when you look at the feast around the table.
Yeah.
Like whenever we're getting ready to meet with a group, the conversation is not like, you remember what happened last time? It's like, okay, who's bringing what snack?
It's a potluck.
Yeah, exactly. That aspect of it is my favorite food part.
Yeah.
Is the potluck aspect. When it comes to gaming, I have favorites that I like for myself.
Yeah.
I like to have salty fat protein, which means nuts.
Yep.
I like to have a little bit of alcohol and a little bit of caffeine.
Yep. It's so funny because I can't do I can't do caffeine when I play D&D. Like it's like I talk too fast. Like
right. Well, the alcohol slows it back down.
Oh, that's a good point. But I can do
it's not drinking like a lot.
Yeah.
It's generally what I do is I have a sugar-free energy drink.
Oh, nice.
I avoid sugar unless it's in the snacks in D&D itself.
Smart.
Because I don't want the mental crash.
Yep.
And I focus on fats and proteins for the satiation and level thinking.
Yeah.
This is all the science behind it.
I love it.
And I know that if I'm having alcohol, that will be the sugar.
Yeah, there you go. That's fair. Yeah.
Right. So I'll have like a sugar-free energy drink before the game starts.
Nice.
And then I'll have a weaker caffeinated beverage after halftime.
Yeah.
And in between, I'll sip something that has alcohol in it.
Yeah.
And that it's a mix of feeling like I'm ready to perform like on a stage, and feeling loose or confident enough to not stop myself from saying something out loud.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because that's the best. This is true. This is what I learned from. We don't have time for the tangent. From my foray into stand-up comedy was
I'd have to hear about that next time.
What?
Next time I'll have to hear about that.
And I understand it now looking back, not at the time, is the key to, outside of like writing your material and being funny, to having jokes or being funny in general, is being willing to say the words out loud before your brain shuts it off and goes, should I say this?
Yeah.
And you're running the risk every time that what you say is wrong or incorrect or going to hurt someone
or horrible.
Right. And generally, if you harness the timing of instead of wondering, ooh, I could say this.
Yeah.
If you instead work on pronouncing it in your head first,
and
then saying it, that is literally the beat of time between setup and punchline.
Wow.
Sheesh. And if
there's a delay,
there is a delay, but because if you say it too quickly, you're going to slur the words, and it won't be funny. If you second guess yourself, you'll miss the timing of getting the joke out, and then it becomes staircase humor. We're like, I should have said the thing.
Wow.
And for most people, one of those two things is going to happen. So they clam up because they're afraid they're going to stutter, or they're afraid of what they're saying is not going to be received as funny.
Wow, that's
so if you
amazing.
Can get to the brain space, of saying the words out loud before it's too late. There's no turning back. And a little bit of alcohol lets that happen.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I've learned, thinking backwards, the opposite way you did. I feel like when you were like, I need that performer to come out, I feel like that performer is always there for me. Like, I am constantly trying to just push that performer down and be like,
I agree.
Not right now.
I agree. Right, I operate like I'm a sitcom and there's someone watching me at all times.
Exactly. Like, if somebody came up to me in the street and was like, hey, I need you to perform a musical number right now, I'd be like, I've been waiting for this my whole life. Like, let's do this. I know what song I'm going to sing and I'm ready. Okay. And we're doing it wherever it is. If anyone's watching or no one. So I have to, when I play D&D, put that down a little bit and become more calm. Otherwise, I over dominate and I don't get to listen to my players. Amazing.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
So
the thing that helps me with that is that I love improv.
Yeah.
I'm bad. My biggest trouble with stand-up is I don't know how to start because there's nothing to bounce off of. It's just you talking.
It's cold.
In improv or sketch is a teamwork game.
A word,
where you're reacting to other people.
Yeah, see, I want to try improv so bad.
It's so much fun.
I've watched a ton of stuff, but I've never. Done it.
And I basically operate with yes and turned on all the time.
Yeah.
So when I get to the table, it's very easy for me to just react to what people are doing.
Yeah.
Or let other people get words out, because if they don't get to speak, then I have nothing to bounce off of.
Yeah, for sure. And that's amazing. And it's funny because I felt like when I was going back to earlier on the call, like I was always in my mind. My mind actually is very yes and I took it too far. Like, so I was just like you said, I was exhausted all the time. Anytime somebody would be like, oh, do you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go right now. Or like, yeah, let's do this. And I never did anything because I was always going everywhere.
Yep.
And then I had a really powerful experience just barely. I'm gonna say this on stream, but I did mushrooms
Okay.
for the first time, and I had this phrase pop into my mind that has stuck with me ever since, and I was in a different state of consciousness when I said this, but I've remembered it, and it's held true to me, and that is when you say no, you're not saying no it's not a definite thing, like indefinite. The better phrase isn't thinking no, it's thinking not right now.
Yeah.
And like, because that's not closing the door, it's leaving it a crack open, you know? So if whatever it was is coming back anytime, it doesn't have to knock again and you got to get up and open the door. It'll just like, hey, is it okay if I come in, you know?
Yep.
And so when I play D&D, if it was up to me, I would always be yes-anding, and it would be like, no one would ever talk except me. Like,
but then you're not yes-anding. You're feeding other people stuff to yes-and off of.
Yeah, but I'm yes-anding with myself. Because
that's not good.
I know. I could have an entire conversation with just me for like an hour, and I have before. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
So my phrase is like, not right now. And that's where I'm allowing other people to yes and. So like, yes, you have an idea, Parker. Not right now. Just wait a bit.
Yep.
And it's been beautiful to discover that for me. So I go on a walk beforehand. Like I make sure to do like a slow walk beforehand. And then I eat. Lately I've been eating like things with like whole wheat and like fiber and like hummus and like some fruit maybe. Because it's just been like, I'm trying to slow myself down a bit and really live in the moment, not be thinking 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
So that's been my go-to. But my favorite, this is my guilty pleasure, are called Dots Pretzels. Have you heard of Dots Pretzels?
No.
Yeah, don't do it. They are so unhealthy and so amazing.
Yay.
I love them. They're like just like white flour, so you get like that sugar rush when you eat it, and it's just filled with sodium. So you just want to eat them all. I love it.
Yeah, I get that 100%. I remembered one of the tangents I was supposed to go on.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have time for it.
We do.
We do? You sure? You said you have to go.
I do, but I knew it would be a wind down, so this is good. I'll let you know when. I'll say the safe word when we need to stop. So
okay. So way in the beginning of time of this conversation, I think there was a little bit of the inward versus outward process that we were kind of talking about.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to try and I've never fully expressed this concept out loud before. There is no scientific idea behind it. Most of the things that I've said has been a mix of understanding physiological
logicism.
Physiology
and
psychology. There you go.
I kept trying to make it into an ism in my mind.
This is purely metaphysical.
Wow,
I have no proof. This is just a way that I approach looking at it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the answer to which one would be preferred is it comes down to the individual. And generally, the one you rely on the most is where you want to start, and the one you need to work on is the one you want to focus on.
Yes.
Like you sit in wherever you're most comfortable, and you got to pull from the other one.
Love that.
But I view humans in two aspects, and I'm going to use words to define it that sound religious that I don't mean them to be.
Sure.
And I separate it into divine and animal. Divine is our consciousness, as if like it was a gift from the gods.
Yeah.
Like the ability to think for ourselves and be aware that we exist.
Yeah. Existentialism.
Anything within the consciousness that is not using our meat suit is what I consider divine.
Sure.
Anything that is animal relies on the biology of how we exist and live in interacting with the world around us. The balance between the two is what makes us human.
Wow.
So if we're too far in the divine section, we're only focusing on our head, how the head works, thinking in our process. Maybe we're using other people to think, but the animal, the rental thing we have that is our meat suit isn't being used, and it's not experiencing this part of our existence.
Yeah.
If we're only focused on the animal side of things and the divine nature is turned off, we're more emotional, we're more volatile. We think in the moment with what our body's giving us, not with what the consciousness has, which is where you get a lot of explosive anger and mood swings and that kind of stuff. If we're doing that, then we don't get to explore our existence, whether there is something beyond this or not. So it's when we're trying to be healthy, we're trying to balance those two to make sure that we're still human.
That is fascinating, because I think that's why I've enjoyed going on walks so much before my D&D
because that's
games.
the animal part.
It's the animal part, and I literally go out with my animals. I take my dogs.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, so physical exercise is working your animal part.
Amazing.
But it powers in a duality the divine part.
It does, until I've started really going on these walks and stuff. I haven't cried in I cry like once a year, maybe.
Yeah.
And now in like the past 2 or 3 months, I've cried at least like once or twice a week. And it's amazing. Like it's so wonderful, you know, like it's okay to cry, like, and and you just like focus on the feeling of it, and I love it. So so that was I got lost because I've never said it out loud, but that was my answer to your question. I love it. It's amazing. Is there anything else you want the good people to know? Do you have any plugs you want to make for yourself or anything?
Sure. I think we talked about it. I am the host of Everyday Superhero Cast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Once a week, I upload little video clips on YouTube because I only post monthly, and it helps you get little snippets.
They're awesome.
In between.
I love them.
I also run everydaysuperherotraining.com, which is my wellness coaching website. It has a home fitness program that has a little bit of a Facebook group, so you get to be a part of a community and lets you work out anywhere, anytime, with a little bit of narrative flair, which is fun. And I also do one-on-one wellness coaching remotely.
Awesome. I'll make sure to put all that in the show notes as well. So in the description, I'll have links to your YouTube, Twitter, and your website. Website will be the top one. So
I also have Instagram, but I don't use it as much.
Oh yeah, I can't do it. I'm so bad at it.
What I've learned for why I don't like it is or not like it is it in order for it to blend with how I'm trying to reach people, I have to approach it in a manner that I disagree with reaching out to people. In that, because it's visual based and not conversation based, I have to depict myself in a manner that makes you stop and go, what is going on there? And my goal is to entertain, educate, and inspire. But if I have to use myself to draw attention, it's taking away from that. So I get a conflict of interest of and so I tend to do on Instagram. It tends to be like it's where I'll dress more in like a cosplay for a workout. Or
That's
like
cool. I love that. That's awesome. So good. We can check out that too. I have to say this because I forgot to, and it was so important. This is random. Do you use TikTok at all?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. And then my wife was like, my wife uses it. And I was like, I'll check it out to see. And yesterday she says, have you heard of Noodle the Pug? And
I've heard of Doug the Pug.
Oh, I don't know Doug the Pug.
Doug the Pug is Instagram.
Instagram is Doug the Pug. So this is Noodle the Pug. And he's starting a cult on TikTok. And,
man.
Yeah, so he's a 13-year-old pug, and every day his owner wakes up and like lifts him up and then puts him down on his bed. And if he flops on the bed, it's a no bones day. And if he stands up, it's a bones day. And that determines what the day is going to be like. It's like a
That's
horoscope,
awesome.
but using a 13-year-old pug.
That's beautiful.
So funny.
That's wonderful.
Well, is there
I
anything
do not
else?
use TikTok. I only recently figured out how I personally can use TikTok in a manner that's useful. Like, or not Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. I'm not ready for TikTok yet. I just have it, and I've posted I think 3 things. I'm like, oh, it's overwhelming to do, but
yeah,
I might get into it one day. We'll see. I don't know.
By the time we get into it, there'll be another thing, and we'll still be behind.
Fair point. That's okay because
Yeah.
there's other people like us out there, so we're speaking to them.
Exactly.
Well, is there anything else you want to say before we head off?
I think that's it. I think I've had a really. I mean, we could keep going for another 5 hours if you want.
I do want. Unfortunately, the animal in me needs to go do. My meat suit needs to go do.
Exactly.
Things, so.
That's right.
The mind is willing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. We'll do this again sometime for sure.
I'd love to. I'd love to have you on my podcast as well. I only film or record once a month. I'm technically booked out for the next 4 months, but in general, yeah.
No worries. Anytime I will be available to
awesome.
try to work it in.
Yay.
Do you remember what the safe word was?